changing trauma to drama. In the 40s, tuberculosis was still very much a dreaded killer disease. By 1950, at the tail end of my second grade of grammar school, my father was released from a TB sanatorium after having spent 6 years there, on and off, mostly on, and losing a lung and many ribs to the surgeons' efforts to save him. My mother collected my 3 sisters and me from various temporary housing around the country, where we'd spend the better part of 5 years, while she had worked herself to desperation trying to support 4 small children and a very sick husband. When Dad was released from the sanatorium, my mother, a registered nurse, brought us together in a new town where she could be within walking distance of her job at a local hospital. Her new home was a tiny 1.5 bedroom apartment over a dilapidated garage whose rickety entrance staircased off a back alley. The problem arose for me, a sensitive, shy 7-year-old, in the fact that the dilapidated garage was on the backgrounds of a splendid house on a street of elegant homes lining the Detroit River, some of which boasted maids or housekeepers. The town seemed overflowing with abundance, its lovely churches on shady streets, and children with shiny patent leather shoes and ironed clothing in stark contrast to what I knew of the world. As long as my new school friends didn't know the condition of our housing, I felt safe. But one day, when I was alone in the apartment, 2 classmates came for an unexpected visit. My shock was traumatic. When I heard their feet on the squeaky staircase and their childish voices, I dropped behind a chair in the living room, hidden from the view of the open door. My friends knocked and called my name. I hyperventilated. As they turned to descend into an alley, they talked about our dump of a home using language only kids can conjure up. My life changed in that moment. I entered a probability that verified assumptions I held about myself that had no validity whatsoever. I heaped the old beliefs with new ones about my self-worth, my place in life and my apartness, that helped shape my reality for years to come. I didn't see them as beliefs. I saw them as truths. I battled with those truths until recently, winning some skirmishes, losing others. I knew when I started reading the Seth material that I had to address my limiting beliefs once and for all, because they placed a lid on my potential just as tightly as the screwed down top of a bell jar. Seth gave me knowledge. He told me there are many probabilities surrounding each event I ever experience, and any could have been chosen by me for actualization that day. I simply aligned with the one I did based on my beliefs and desires of the moment. Looked at neutrally, as all events could be, it was simply the expression of my thoughts, attitudes, and feelings of the time. Other players came into my script, acting out their parts with so much conviction that even I believed them. And I'm the one who not only wrote them into my play, but directed the scene and became the audience who cried at curtain fall. But according to Seth, our directorship is open-ended, meaning we can rethink a scene whenever we choose to and alter its significance dramatically. We can take a stumbling block to our happiness or fulfillment and make it the growth path to our future. Seth says, the fact remains that there are probable events that can still happen within your personal previous experience. A new event can literally be born in the past, now. A new belief in the present can cause changes in the past. When you alter your beliefs today, you also reprogram your past. At another point, he says, to rid yourself of annoying restrictions, then, you repattern your past from the present. So here's what I did, and it may have been the most important process of my life. In an altered state of consciousness, or psi-time, I recreated the scene and played out the event just as it had occurred except I inserted today's self into the picture. Today's me watched from across the room as strong emotion coursed through my 7-year-old self. Then, after the other children had departed, I sat on a couch and waited for my younger self to become aware of me. Her reaction when she noticed me was shyness, but when I beckoned her to the couch, she joined me. Then we had a heart-to-heart talk. She listened intently while I told her that her beliefs she just may have brought into this life with her, shaped that event. And I told her those beliefs didn't particularly hold any power over her. It was only her belief in their power that did. I told her she was quite capable of altering that event by consciously choosing another probability to experience. Then I told her I was her future self, and I talked about some of the more special things we'd accomplished in our life, and that we had 2 fine children and a loving mate and a nice home. She smiled. She was starting to grasp that life didn't end with that latest painful event, that it continued and indeed offered some choice morsels of love, security, and happiness. Then we laid a plan. She would create an instant replay of that event, but this time the ending would change, because she would change. She'd still live off the alley over a garage, but she'd be proud of it. She'd be proud of what her parents had been able to accomplish, given their circumstances. She'd be pleased that they had moved her into a town where she could learn so much, such as how prosperous people acted and dressed and talked, and how they seemed to assume they had a right to the good things in life. And she would assume she had those same rights, because certainly she did. So here come the kids trooping up the creaky stairs once again. She hears them and, with anticipation in her step, reaches the door at the same time as they do. She greets them happily and asks them to come in. Her new friends from school thought enough of her to come for a visit, and she's thrilled. Her home is not an issue with them because it isn't with her. They talk a while, and then the children head home, glad to have spent time with the new girl in town. As soon as they leave, she and I whoop for joy. We've done it. We've changed the past by changing probabilities, by changing our beliefs. And now the frosting on the cake. In walks our future self. She's laughing and full of congratulations. We all sit down and talk. She tells us what's happening in her life, about her home and career, about her happiness, and how our changing made it all possible. We, our past selves, sit here excited with the picture she paints of our future, because it is indeed wonderful. I did this side time exercise over a period of a few weeks. It was never the same in that it took on its own character each time, but the result was always a feeling of freedom from limiting beliefs and a wide open future just waiting to be experienced. How do I know I altered the past? At first I wasn't sure, not that it mattered particularly, because I sensed movement and change within myself. But then, during a seminar Stan and I were conducting, someone asked me that question. Almost instantly I had my answer, because the new ending to the event immediately flashed into my mind. Remembered before the original one. My first reaction to the question was one of ease with the outcome, and then I knew that in my field of probabilities I had given it more strength, more intensity than the original ending. The other one was still there, but now it was merely dress rehearsal to the grand opening night. Seth says, in this synthesis of quotes, because events do not exist in the concrete done and finished versions about which you have been taught, then memory must also be a different story. You must remember the creativity and the open-ended nature of events. A route goes out in all directions. Events do also. but the roots of events go through your past, present, and future. Simultaneously, simultaneously, each of your past and future selves dwells in their own way now. Preparations for change. We can use imagination to alter past events. Since there are no consecutive moments, how we view our past right now creates it in that mold. Set for us to remember a particular event that greatly disturbed us, then to imagine it not simply wiped out, but replaced by another event of more beneficial nature. This must be done with great vividness and emotional validity, and many times. It is not self-deception, he assures us. The new event that we choose will automatically be a probable event which did in fact happen, though it's not the event we selected to perceive in our given probable past. Seth says, telepathically, if the process is done correctly, your idea will also affect any people who are connected with the original event, though they can choose to reject as well as accept your version. So it's your turn to recreate your past. The next side time exercise is very similar to the technique I used with my past self and is designed for you to record for your use if desired. I've chosen to use the words him and his as designators of the past self. Before you go any further, select the past event you want to alter. Get clear in your mind what you want the new outcome to be, or the feelings you'd rather experience around the event, and then assume what you are about to undertake will, of course, happen. So get comfortable, relax, and prepare to alter your past and open your future. Upside time exercise, changing the past. Now, see your past self in the setting where a previous painful or unsettling event is about to occur. See him simply waiting to start the action as though an actor in a play. The you of today should be in the background, ready to watch the drama unfold, but unnoticed by your past self. Clearly see the props, costumes, and scenery your past self has chosen for this event. All right, let the scene roll just as it happened, with the you of today being the unseen observer. Let your past self act out this part, but the emotion of the time doesn't have to be as deep as it was then, especially if it was extremely painful. Watch your past self almost clinically to see his reaction to what is occurring. When it's over and your past self is alone again, make it known to him that you are nearby. Have him come sit by you on whatever props fit the scene. Tell him that you are his future self, here to assist in rewriting that event. Tell your past self it was beliefs that caused the painful experience and beliefs that can change it. Ask him what beliefs he thinks were behind the structure of such an experience and have him think it through and then discuss it with you. Tell your past self he can literally redirect that event and change its ending. Tell him he's the creator of his life, and since he created that scene, he can recreate it. Suggest new beliefs, feelings, and attitudes that he might embrace. Give him suggestions on a better, more constructive ending to the event. See him get excited at the new possibilities. Now it's time to replay the scene with a new ending. You move to the background as your past self takes his position on the set. Give him a thumbs up and a nod of encouragement. Become an observer as the event unfolds once again, but this time watch as your past self takes control of his emotions, beliefs, and attitudes. And by doing so, radically alters the outcome of the scene. When it's over and the last actor has left the set, You and your past self whoop for joy. You've done it. You've altered your past by changing in the now. What excitement you both feel. Now into the scene walks your future self, laughing and congratulating you on the freshly restructured event. Sit with your future self and have him bring you up to date on his life. Spend time talking with your future self, hearing just how wonderful your future will be because your past has changed, thereby allowing new, exciting future probabilities to open to you. Say goodbye now. Say goodbye now to your future and past selves. Tell them you will meet again in another time and place. Thank them both for helping you to change into the person you've chosen to become.